In this video lesson, we're going to take a look at LFO1 and LFO2 in Reason Subtractor. Let's look for some similarities between the two. Rate, amount, rate, amount. Here we've got two added controls, keyboard and delay. Here's a similarity, destination, destination. Let's see what's similar in that destination. Oscillator 1 and 2, oscillator 1 and 2. Phase. And that's it. So we've got some duplication, but we've got some differences as well. Finally, another thing that's different is here our waveform selection, triangle, ramp up, ramp down, square, random sine. Okay? Let's go ahead and start experimenting with the controls here and see what we get. All right? A little bit of setup here. I've just got oscillator 1 enabled with a sawtooth wave, got the filter open a little, and the amplitude envelope generator decay and release stages up all the way so that when I play a key, the note will stay consistently loud without decaying or dying away. Okay, let's play a note. There we go, see? And so let's go ahead, stay with our triangle wave that we've got by default here. It's modulating the pitch of oscillators 1 and 2, so let's go ahead and enable oscillator 2. Okay. And let's go ahead and change the amount and see what happens. Well, let's change the rate first. Nothing. Unless we change the amount, we're not going to hear any effect of the LFO on the pitch of oscillators 1 and 2. Let's slow that rate down. Off. Let's increase it. So you can hear the more I increase it, the more pitch change I get above and below the center frequency, which is middle C. So as I increase the amount, the more I go sharp, come back to C, then the more I go flat and come back to C. This changing of pitch or using the LFO to modulate pitch is called vibrato. All right. Let's go through the different waveforms here and just hear the change in effect. So I'll leave the amount to about there. And now let's hear ramp up, ramp down, square. Clearly two different pitches there. Square random, sine random. Let's increase the amount so you can hear those more. Okay, typically the triangle, ramp up, ramp down, and square wave will probably be the ones you use the most. If we just wanted to modulate the pitch of oscillator 2, we could select that. Let's do filter frequency, shall we? Okay. For that, I'm going to select white noise for my source. Let me turn my rate down, my amount down. I'll leave it here at square wave, and so what we want to use the LFO to modulate the filter, raise it, put it back to its center frequency, lower it back to its original position. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and increase the rate here. And now let's increase the amount. Let's increase the rate. Increase the amount. That would be an example of using LFO to change the filter cutoff. All right. Let's go ahead and go to FM here. And here I think I'll go back to triangle wave. What we're going to do is we're going to modulate this frequency back and forth. Okay, so for that, I'll have to deselect noise, turn on oscillator number 2. First, let's turn that off and that off. And let me go ahead and... Oop. There we go. I just want to hear oscillator number 1. That's what I'm going to be listening to, but I'm going to listen to oscillator number 2. Do that. And so instead of me sweeping it back and forth, I'm going to let LFO1 sweep it back and forth. So let's go ahead and increase the rate here. And now you can hear the LFO doing the same thing that I did manually with the frequency control knob right there. Okay. Let's see what else we've got. We've got phase. Okay. Now this one, I'm going to leave in triangle mode, or triangle wave here. And now, excuse me, I'm going to put my mix back to center so I can hear both. I'm going to go to square wave. And again, square wave being of the variable pulse wave family, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this phase knob here to change the duty cycle of the waveform, which will change the harmonic signature or harmonic content of the waveform. Let me go ahead and turn that off and just do it manually. Okay. Oops, remember I need to put in subtractive mode. Okay, good. Now let's go ahead. I'm going to bring in oscillator number 2, put that in subtractive mode as well. Now let's go ahead and change it to phase. And instead of me doing it manually like that, I'm going to let the LFO do it. So let me turn to my rate, turn to my amount, play a key, turn up the rate. Now let's turn up the amount. And this is what is known as pulse width. So the width of a pulse wave, duty cycle of a pulse width modulation. We're using LFO to modulate the pulse width of a pulse wave. That's PWM, pulse width modulation. You will run into that a lot if you really get into synthesizers. Okay. And finally, let's do mix. Okay. So here, let's choose 2 different waveforms. And now you can hear it. Okay. Let's change the rate. Right, the one that we haven't covered yet is sync. So let's go ahead while we're here on mix, and let's play this again. So we're going back and forth between triangle and sawtooth. All right, let me go ahead here and change the rate. And look at the range of numbers that will come up. It'll be 0 to 127. As we get more into the MIDI, the numbers 0 to 127 and why they appear so much when we're using MIDI instruments will become more and more clear. Okay, but let's see what happens now when I choose the sync control. And sync means syncing to the tempo of our sequencer. Now right here, we are in using resonant standalone mode, so our tempo is 120. But let's go ahead and we'll experiment back and forth with this and see what happens as we change the rate. Okay, so first let's look at the range of numbers. Again, 0 to 127. Engage the sync control. Now look at the numbers. We have fractional numbers: 16 over 4, 5 over 4, 4 over 4. Maybe that means a whole note. Okay, 3 over 4, eighth note triplet or half note triplets possibly. Half notes. Quarter notes. Eighth notes. Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and blast through some. Keep the amount up full there. And let's do it with square wave to even make it more pronounced. Let's change an octave up so we can even make it more pronounced. There we go. Now let's change the rate of our tempo. And you can hear the LFO sync to the tempo of our sequencer. Okay, so that's what sync is, and you'll find that on almost every LFO in every synthesizer. Now you notice we don't have that option here in LFO 2. We've pretty much gone through everything we can in LFO 1. Let's go and visit LFO 2. I'm going to turn that one off, turn that one off. Again, the word vibrato, changing pitch. Here, I'm going to go right to where it says amp, because using an LFO to modulate the amplitude is called tremolo. Vibrato for pitch, tremolo for amp. So right now, I'm going to do it manually. Let me turn off my rate, my amount, and let me go back, turn off oscillator 2, and I'll turn up. I'll tell you what, let's go and put noise on. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'll do it manually here. And now instead of me doing it manually, I'm going to let LFO to it. So it's going to modulate the level of the amplifier. Turn up the rate. Okay. Now we can also modulate the pitch of oscillators 1 and 2. So let's go ahead and turn off the noise. Phase. Okay. And filter frequency 2. So now we'll turn on, let's go ahead and see what we get there. Let's do it with noise again. That's always a good source, a good way to listen to the filters. And mix, there we go. I don't hear anything. Let's go ahead and turn filter 2 on. There we go. And now you can hear instead of me doing this, I'm going to let LFO2 do it. So rate, amount. Okay. We've got a couple more features right here, and I'll do it with oscillator 1 and 2, so we can hear a pitch change. Okay. We've got delay. So watch, I'm going to turn this up to about half, play a key, or I'm sorry, not decay, delay. There we go. And you can hear, as I increase that, it takes a little bit, or it takes an increasing amount of time for the vibrato to become as, for the amount to, here, let me do it with the amount control. Now, I'll do the same thing, except increasing the delay control. Now it'll be a delay before the amount comes to its full position. And there we go. All right. Finally, let me increase the amount and increase the rate. Well, yeah, we'll leave the rate right there. There we go. With the keyboard tracking control, as I play up the keyboard, the vibrato should become faster. So let me play a low note here. There we go. So now with the keyboard tracking control at about half, I'm playing a low note. You can hear the frequency of the vibrato, higher note, and you can hear how the rate or speed of the vibrato increases as you hear the low versus the higher note. Now here, with keyboard tracking off, you'll hear that the vibrato speed of both the high and low notes are the same. Okay, all right. So those are the controls you'd find on almost any synthesizer that you would find on the market today. And that wraps it up for the LFO1 and LFO2 in Reason Subtractor.